Yeah, but that's a really difficult thing for them to be saying. I mean, that goes without saying. And so the thing about it is, if these were two uneducated people, you know, the type that go away and they wear, they go away and they wear these Union Jack shorts, and they have bottles of beer and lots of it all day, and then you see them quite heavy. The man, he's diving into the pool, and they're making a nuisance of themselves, and they're singing songs and getting absolutely legless at night. And their kids are up in the apartment. They go, and you know, and then you start immediately thinking, well, you know, but here we're talking about educated people with 3 young children, with everything, you know, in their lives. I think you look at their home, where they come from. There's nothing within their personality that could ever. Can I ask you this? Could you pick your what age is your grandchild?
3 1/4.
Okay, there you are. What age was Madeleine?
Just over that, 3 3/4.
God forbid anything could happen. Could you pile her body in a car and dump it?
Well,
I'd rather go to prison.
I know. Well, I share the care of my grandson. Look after him quite a lot, and I don't let him out of my sight for a second. Actually.
Well, I wouldn't blame you, and I think we all feel that.
But
now.
if I come back to this point, Maurice, if I was responsible in some way for him suffering an accident, if that were to happen, I might well panic. I might well make up a cover story to cover that. As you said in the introduction to this program, it's happened many, many times in the past. Something happens through your negligence or carelessness.
Okay, you make up a cover story. But throwing a child over a side of a mountain. 1 second, we got a call. Sorry, good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
It's Board. What I'd just like to say is that for police officers to go to a scene of crime, it's a very difficult thing for them to do, especially when there was no body. The only thing that they could go on is statements from different people. And to try and trace back what happened to a little child was very difficult. And the press did not help, because the press said basically these stupid police officers of
Portuguese,
Portugal,
yeah.
and tried to discredit them, because this couldn't happen to 2 doctors, you know. And as slowly little bits of information are coming in, I mean, my 2 children were born here in Spain, and they're 19 and 16 now, but we never left them once. If we ever went to a restaurant and we never had them children with us, the people in the restaurant, Spanish restaurant, would say, well, don't you enjoy your children? We went everywhere with them. We enjoyed it.
Sure. In Spain, that's encouraged. That's a lovely thing about Spain. Families here in Spain, unlike UK, will go with their children, the 3-year-old, the 4-year-olds, at 10, 11 o'clock at night, and go into restaurants, and it's encouraged. It's very different back in UK.
Yeah, but this wasn't in the UK.
I know, but these people were on holiday from UK. They weren't brought up here, if you know what I mean.
No, I do. But I mean, they see the way. I'm sure in that tapas bar there was other little children, babies, in that tapas bar or whatever. But even so, there's a lot of funny things coming out. But I mean, I'm sure that the case at the time, if there wasn't this deluge of criticism on the way the police. And these guys are professional people. They want to find the truth. You know, I mean, that guy was so upset about the little child missing and not finding it. And, you know, they can only go on the evidence that's in front of them and the statements that were in front of them. They had a very difficult time. And, of course, the press was saying, well, 2 English doctors could, you know, must be telling the truth. Well, there's some very funny things coming out now. I mean, personally, my personal opinion, and I hate to have to say this, but I do hope the little child has died, because I would hate to think that she is in a paedophile
Okay, thanks,
situation.
Colin. We've got lots of calls backing up here. Thanks a lot, Col. Tony, you don't mind taking calls in, do you?
No, of course not, no.
Okay, well, let's try to take that call off if they can hang up and leave room for the next call to come in. Caller, just hang on where you are there and we'll see if we can put you through. There we go. I think we got you through. Good evening, caller.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, yeah.
It's Thursday here.
Who is it? Who's on the line?
It's Bertha.
Bertha.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Bertha.
Hi. I find it a bit offensive that you can say that because they are doctors and because they are of a certain standing in society, that they're not capable of being irresponsible.
No, I didn't say that. Yeah, what I did say, they were doctors. They weren't big drinkers. They never showed a. I mean, they're educated people. Just the makeup to me. Now, it's only my personal view. The makeup to me didn't seem to be the type of people who would take their young child and throw it over the side of a cliff.
No, Maurice, none of us know how we would react.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Personal neglect of our children led to one of their deaths. I can't even imagine how I would react.
Okay, well, it's a good point. That's a good point.
But to suggest, because they are of a certain standing in society, that they're not capable of irresponsibility is ridiculous. I mean, look what's happening to the world at the moment.
But you've got to...
All these professional men have rolled this country and every other country into diabolical financial situations. Now, if you want to judge people on their standing in society, I think that's a prejudice that needs to be looked at.
Well, maybe it's a good point, but I do say that it needs the two of them to tango, if you know what I mean.
They acted irresponsibly. They left their children, and unfortunately, the child has paid with her life.
Okay, thanks for your call. There you are. Tony, you see, it's very emotive. Of course, it's very emotive. And I think that people will agree to disagree in this case until it's solved. And the longer it goes on, there's no body. And we've heard of people being arrested and charged without bodies. In the case of the McCanns or whoever it might be, neglect. They did talk about, in Portugal, is a case where they could have ended up in prison. What happened with that?
Sorry, which case is that?
Is that neglect is a case that could be brought up in front of the judge and they could have ended up in a prison?
Indeed. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Maurice, but I did rather controversially attempt to bring a prosecution against the McCanns.
I didn't know.
Back in November 2007, under the 1933 Children and Young Persons Act for child neglect. And it was on the basis that, in fact, they had left their children neglectfully, left them for substantial periods of an evening without being there. The prosecution was refused on the grounds that the court thought the jurisdiction might be in Portugal rather than in the United Kingdom. But that was in fact the trigger that led to the foundation of the Madeleine Foundation, because when I did that, there was an overwhelming response. My email box was full with hundreds of people all around England and beyond who said, look, thank you for doing this. These doctors placed Madeleine McCann in a vulnerable situation and they should be prosecuted like anybody else. And many people said if they'd been working class parents on a council estate, they would definitely have been prosecuted.
We have another call. We'll have to take this in as the last one. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Morris. This is Jack.
Hiya, Jack.
You know, there's a question here. There are two other children in the family. Mm-hmm. Well, it was never mentioned. Didn't they wake up and cry? Didn't they feel something, see something?
Well, one would imagine if their sister is crying for one hour, the two children would wake up. It's a good point.
Right. Yeah. And there's never been a mention of the reaction of the two other children in this case.
Good point, Jack.
Can I come in there?
Yeah, of course.
I need to come in there because Dr. Kate McCann said in an interview about 10 months ago that on the morning of the 3rd of May, Madeleine came to her and said that she and Sean had been crying the night before. I don't know if you recall that, but that was stated by Dr. Kate McCann herself, that her two children had apparently been crying the night before. So there was a reference to the other child there. One point that I didn't make earlier briefly was that it's on the record that the McCann